Hey, Marquis. Thanks for joining me today. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, doing pretty good myself. So, yeah, want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, so Marquis, I'm living in Japan right now, from California originally, and I actually started studying Japanese back in 2009, and then quit for a while, started and then quit, and then got serious about it earlier this year.
Cool, cool. So, when you first started learning Japanese back in 2009, what initially sparked your interest, and what did you do initially to try to learn Japanese?
Yeah, so first, like I'd always want to go to Japan.
Like ever since you were a little kid?
Yeah, since I was a kid, I'd like randomly opened a book about Kanazawa at the library, and then I had also read the Sasaki Sadako book. Pretty pretty intense stuff. Yeah, so I got my interest, and then I
Wait,
had a
what's
teacher
that? I've
from.
I've never heard of that before.
Oh, it's a story of the girl who was alive during World War II, and she ended up getting cancer from
Oh,
nuclear.
Sasaki
But
Sadako. Oh, okay. I've heard of that. That's who started the 10,000 or the 1,000 crane thing, right? Like the
yeah,
origami cranes.
yeah,
Okay, cool, cool. So you had a pretty genuine introduction to Japan from a kid.
yeah. I know, like most people, like get into it for different reasons and stuff, but I think mine's like one of the more unique reasons.
Cool, cool. So then what kind of made you want to turn that initial interest into actually learning the language initially?
Yeah, because of course, if you're gonna live somebody, you should know the language. I actually did like just a little searching around. I think I got my first laptop in 2009, I think, like right when I was still in like my last year of high school. And then I think
Okay.
like most people, I found AJAT from a Tikio Sam's video talking about the real way to learn
Okay.
Japanese.
So you like were introduced to AJAT from the very beginning?
Yeah, like probably like right when I wanted to start learning Japanese, I found AJAT.
Oh, okay, that's pretty rare, but pretty lucky. So then, like, what was your initial reaction to that? Because I mean, it sounds kind of crazy at first, right?
Yeah, so actually, I didn't take it too seriously. I was just more of a fan of like Katsumoto's writing because he's obviously like a huge troll. So yeah, at first like I was like, oh, like I don't know, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And then I think that was still he was still posting regularly at that time, and he still had his rule where like he was like, no, I'm not gonna teach you Japanese. I'm gonna teach you how to teach yourself Japanese.
Cool, cool. So you mean like he hadn't made any products or anything?
Yeah, this is before he had his sentence packs or his silver spoon or anything.
Cool, cool. But did you buy the whole story? Like, I got fluent in 18 months, like listening to Japanese all day?
It was one of those where I was like, "Oh man, that sounds amazing," but then I was like, "Oh, that sounds too amazing. Like there has to be like more to it. You can't just do that." Japanese is one of the most hardest languages to learn. Well, at the time, that was my thinking.
So then what? But then you actually did start AJAT, right? So what
Yeah,
convinced you to actually get started? Because it's a pretty big commitment.
yeah. So I was just like, it seemed like there's other stuff I saw. Like, well, I think Yes Japan was still going at the time, and there's like Pimsleur. I don't know if Jalop was around yet. I don't know,
I doubt
but
it, because I think Job
yeah.
started in like 2010,
Okay,
maybe.
so sometime after there, but yeah, I don't know. I had friends who studied Japanese in high school and stuff, and they were like, they weren't that good. And I was like, all right, I'll try something new. So I actually started with the audio and just listening to like just some songs and some talk shows and stuff. And like, yeah, after a couple months, like I started being able to like I couldn't understand anything still, but like being able to break up sentences and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
start hearing words, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe this does work.
Okay, so you decided to give it a shot because although you were still skeptical, Katsumoto seemed to be maybe onto something, and then you also had friends who
Yeah,
didn't have great results.
yeah.
And then once you tried it, you actually, could feel the effects of that listening. So was it after you started feeling the effects of the listening that you decided to start RTK?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'd learned kana, the hiragana and katakana first,
Hmm.
and then I jumped into RTK.
Cool. And then were you using Anki?
Yeah, I didn't use Anki for hiragana and katakana, but for kanji I started doing that.
Cool. And like back then, did they have like fancy pre-made decks and stuff, or were you just like how'd you go about doing
Ah,
that?
no, I just made it myself. I still use that horrible font, the original, I mean,
Oh
the
yeah.
basic font that comes with it. So it kind of sucked for a little while.
And did you just have keyword on the front, kanji on the back?
I had the story on the front, the whole story, and then the kanji on the back.
Okay. And were you making up your own stories? Like, did they even have kanji kohi? I think they did. You know, they must have had it back then.
Yeah, they had it. Yeah, that's been around for a while. Yeah, so I'd make my own stories. If there's something like I couldn't make a story for, then I'd look on there for like ideas. But yeah, I made stories for like for all my kanji.
Cool, cool. And then you said you made it halfway through, and then
Yeah,
got
halfway
tough.
through, and then yeah, I think I have like I started getting up to like I don't know. I think I skipped reviews for a couple days, and I got to like 400 reviews, and I was like, oh no, I'm done,
Okay, yeah.
and I deleted
How
it.
many were you doing a day, by the way?
I was trying to do the 20, 25 a day,
Okay,
and then of course I'd take like a break here and there from adding.
cool, cool. So then that day, like when your reps piled up and you stopped RTK, was that, did your whole age out experience kind of come to a halt?
Yeah, I stopped everything. I still read the AJAT website because he was still putting up articles regularly, but as far as like studying Japanese, I was like, nah, nah, it's cool.
Okay, so were you still thinking that you wanted to pick it up again someday?
Yeah, actually, I don't know, I just kind of I had other stuff I wanted to do, and then just Japanese wasn't like a huge priority in my life at the time.
Okay, so that was almost 10 years ago from now, right? So then when was the next time you
Yeah, yeah.
came back to Japanese?
This would be like in the summer 2010, towards the end of the summer.
Okay.
Because I had found I don't know if you heard of Temple University in
Oh,
Tokyo.
yeah, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, so I'd wanted to go there, so I started studying Japanese again, and then I grinded through RTK. I finished it, I think, 5 months towards the end of 2010.
Okay, cool. So made it all the way through.
Yeah, and then 2011 came, and that's when they had the earthquake and everything
Ah,
happened.
yeah.
And then I was like, oh, then the school shut down for a little bit, and then the dollar had plummeted so much. I think it was like a dollar equaled like 72 yen at the time.
Dang. Wow.
And then I just couldn't, yeah, couldn't afford to come here anymore. I was like, oh, there goes that dream. Okay, I quit Japanese again.
Okay, so how long did you spend in that that time you picked up Japanese? How long did you spend, immersing in stuff before that you ended up deciding to drop it again?
I want to say, I wasn't actually doing that much listening or watching. I was just
I
trying to
see.
finish RTK.
And was it soon after you finished that happened?
I'd say I think it was like a month or two.
Man, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, maybe a month or two after. Yeah, that happened, and then yeah, I didn't pick up Japanese again until around 2014 when I ended up getting the scholarship to study abroad in Osaka.
Oh, cool. So then, how did what were things like that time?
Oh man, because Kansai Japanese, like, it's way different than like
Uh
what you
huh.
hear on TV or like anime and stuff. So I couldn't like I'd taken like Japanese 101 at my university, and then I think restarted. I started repping out my kanji again. I started making bilingual sentences and trying to immerse a little bit. But I don't know. By the time I got to Osaka, like I didn't study at all, and I was like in the gaijin circle. I didn't hang out with any Japanese people. I like wasted a whole year. Just
Dang.
like yeah,
Okay.
that sucked.
Would you say you improved somewhat while you were over there?
Yeah, I mean, I learned how to order at McDonald's. That's probably like the most I got out of
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to people, for sure. So then, what was your experience with Japanese after you came back?
Yeah, I kind of like it's ironic because I actually my degree is in Japanese language and culture, but it's the program at my school. I mean, like I don't know, they do their best, but nobody's like fluent when they graduate from
Yeah,
the
of course.
program. People can barely do like their self introductions most of the time. I think for my final project, like I have my degree now, I can say it. I ran my whole final project in Japanese through Google Translate, and then had a Japanese friend correct it for me after that.
Wow.
And then
I
yeah.
mean, that doesn't surprise me because that, when I was at school studying Japanese, and I still am at school studying Japanese, when I look around, that's what seems to be the norm for all the other students. So
Yeah, it
I
was
don't think that's an uncommon story.
yeah.
But when you were in Japan, did you have a positive experience? Like, did you like Japan? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, I loved it. Especially like Kansai is like different than rest of Japan. I mean, like I'd say Osaka is different than the rest of like Japan. Just everyone there is like friendly and open, and then there's just a lot of stuff to like people are more open and friendly there. That's the first thing, and then there's just a lot to do. And because I had a scholarship, I had money to go like travel around and stuff.
Cool, cool. So then after you came back, when you were finishing up your degree, was immersion not really happening that much?
Nope. I mean, I still hang out with the Japanese students, so like I get to hear them talking a lot. But as far as studying, like nah. I did not study at all.
And what were your thoughts at the time? Was it like, oh, I'll get good at Japanese later, or was it just kind of not much thought?
I was just like, oh, I don't know what to do when I graduate college. Like, I don't have any goals.
Cool. So you didn't really have any burning passion or anything about like, oh, I'm gonna get
Yeah,
fluent and blah blah.
yeah, exactly. I didn't get that again until last year when I moved back here.
Okay, so then that was after you graduated a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, a couple months after I graduated, I came back here at the end of August last year for work, and then I had a actually a little bit before that, 2016, I found Brit versus Japan's video where he was talking about his success with AJAT. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe it does work. Because at the whole time, that whole like from 2009 till 2016, I thought I was the only person that like did AJAT or knew about AJAT because nobody posted anything online, and yeah, that was that. And then I found that video. I was like, oh, okay, maybe it works. And then I was like, oh, but yeah, I don't have the time that he had. I was making all these excuses as to why I couldn't do it.
Okay, so about a year ago, you got a job in Japan after you graduated, and that was when
Yeah,
you really started getting serious about Japanese.
yeah. So I'd actually searched again for your channel because I had found it like 2013, something like that. And you had two
Okay.
videos up about the room tours. And then like I looked again last year. I was like, oh man, he has a whole bunch of stuff now. So I went through and I listened to your 3 hour video, and
What'd you
then
think when you listened to that?
I was like, oh man, this guy, why is he? I was like, I
Why is he
think he
such a
talked about
sourpuss?
Anki. I was like, he's so good at Japanese. Why is he so angry? He should be happy. He's fluent in Japanese. But I kind of understood like that feeling of not of like being like fluent in Japanese but not like being Japanese is like I understand it's like hard for a lot of people. And then just the when you're talking about grinding through Anki, I was like, what was it like 2 hours a day you said you did? I was like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. How could anybody do that? But yeah, no, there's a lot of good info on that.
Cool, cool. So at the beginning of like last year when you first started like watching my videos and getting it like serious about AJAT, how much ability would you say you had? Because you did have like a pretty long history, but you
Yeah,
know, what would you say?
I actually had completely, like, almost completely forgot all the kanji. I think I maybe about like a couple hundred, maybe I could remember still, like all the basic stuff. I couldn't make any sentences still. Yeah, that was it. And I
Okay,
knew like just
so
basic phrases, like survival
okay,
Japanese.
yeah. And was there any did you have any experiences like people assuming that you should be fluent in Japanese because you lived in Japan for a year and you had a degree in Japanese?
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's that expectation. Because, like, when I had my interviews and stuff, they'd be like, "Oh, you study Japanese? Like, can you, like, talk to us in Japanese?" And I was like, "Oh, I'd have to make an excuse, like, oh, well, my program focused more on culture than Japanese, so I didn't learn much Japanese in school, or something like that."
Yeah, because I know that that's
So that kind
a
of sucked.
totally common story. Like, yeah, you can study abroad, you can get a degree in it, and in reality, you might know almost nothing about, like,
Yeah,
actually not speak the language at all. But no one,
yeah,
almost no one besides those insiders understand that reality. From the outside, there's just this assumption that if you get a degree, you'll be fluent.
yeah,
But
yeah.
cool. So you're a year ago, your true AJAT journey started. What was that like?
Well, I was still reading more about it and like digging into more of like, did cats really do it in 18 months? And probably, I think you made the Discord, the Patreon. I think I was like one of your first Patreons.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I joined. So I joined that, and I was like, oh man, there's a whole community of people who know about AJAT. Oh man, this is amazing. And then like I don't know, I ended up getting stuck on Discord, like just reading too much, and I didn't actually like realize. Still at the time, I didn't want to study Japanese. I was just more like cheering on other people. I don't know, but yeah, I got serious about it starting from February this year. I'd watched the video. I think it was around February. I watched that video about like the timeline you gave
Oh
and
yeah.
like the steps. Yeah, so I redid it. I think yeah, I still had my deck from RTK with all my stories.
Oh, cool.
So I like grinded through RTK in like 2 weeks because I had a lot of free time.
Damn, how was that?
No, I was motivated. I was like, no, I need to get through this.
Did it come back a little bit after you saw your old stories and stuff?
I mean, some of them, yeah, most of it I had to like completely relearn though.
Oh, wow.
But I was lucky that I had my stories. that I still had like the stories I created a while ago. So I could do a lot of copy and pasting. That's what helped me get through it so quick. But that's because I had the time. I think at the time, like I had so only like an hour of actual work at my old job. The rest of the time I was just sitting at my desk. So that's how I had all the time to go through that.
Oh,
And
nice,
then I
nice.
did, yeah. Then I decided to go through Take Him,
I call it
Grammar
Take
Guide.
Him. I don't know what it's really called.
Take Him. Yeah, no idea. Ended up going through that, and that built like a really good foundation going through the grammar, because you know, AJAD is like no grammar, learn it naturally like a baby, but definitely having that foundation of grammar like made a huge difference. And then I didn't even do bilingual sentences. I decided to just jump right into Japan to monolingual sentences.
Cool, cool. So wait, so when you went through Take Him, did you make flashcards for that, or did you kind of just read through it and just remember it?
Yeah, I made flashcards. I think I only did about 300 and something.
Okay, so just like some of the example sentences when you felt like it, type
Yeah,
thing.
well, I put like almost all the grammar points in there with the example sentences on the same card.
Okay, so like what was on the front and back of your cards?
So on the front's just like the grammar point I want to learn, and then on the back has the examples and oh no, the front had the what did it have? It had the grammar, yeah, and then the back had the explanation and how to use it, something like that. I don't know. I made some weird cards for that, but it worked.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sometimes just repetition, like just seeing it,
Yeah.
a lot of times can help. So cool. And then what was your experience going monolingual? How'd you go about that? Did you just go cold turkey?
I just yeah, I just jumped into it.
Did you, or what dictionaries were you using?
I did the whole Colibri.
Oh, cool. So you had all those ones. That okay, that can help a lot.
Yeah.
Cool. So and they were did you just do like the recursive lookups like going like how many layers deep did you end up going at first?
I tried like if I had to do like any of that branching, I'd just stop and find a new word. Like, oh, it's not worth it right now.
Okay, and you never went back and relied on the bilingual dictionary?
No, I can like sometimes now I think I have about two cards recently I added where I had the Japanese definition and then just the English word on there because I wanted to learn that word and I just couldn't understand the Japanese definition at all.
But most of the
So yeah, I have two bilingual
okay,
cards.
so then and all your other cards are totally monolingual.
Yeah,
Cool. So like was that how difficult was that? Was that like a difficult challenge or was it not hard at all? Like what was your experience?
it took some time. I think like the first couple hundred sentences I made, like that was like yeah, that was a grind. That was hard. But then after that, you start learning like the seeing the patterns
Mhm.
of the words that they use in the dictionary, and then it just gets easier from there.
Cool. So I guess that goes to show you can go monolingual as early as you want if you're up for the challenge.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's
That's
just
super
yeah.
cool.
I wish I would have watched your video though about how to go monolingual before. Like I just jumped into it.
Hey, well,
I
as
think I
long as it
skipped
worked
that
out. I
one
mean, yeah,
by
that probably could
timing.
have made it a little bit
Yeah,
smoother. But I mean,
yeah.
you
It definitely
can
would have.
go cold turkey. You can do it. It's just you have to have patience. Be up for the challenge. I
Yeah,
think some
yeah,
people will
exactly.
probably burn out or get really frustrated trying to do that. But I mean, it's definitely possible. I know you're
Yeah.
not the only person I know who pulled it off. So that's cool. And then what? So were you sentence mining? What kind of stuff were you immersing with?
So first, I just read some manga and anime at first. Like, I think this is important because kind of like when you think about immersion, like I think what messed me up the most, like when I first started learning Japanese, like years ago, was like listening to anything that was in Japanese, like variety shows or like the news or dramas. Like, as a beginner, like things like slice of life anime are perfect as a beginner. I see like a lot of people on Twitter and stuff that say, "Oh, slice of life anime is so boring," you know. But that's some of like the most, like, I guess, quote, natural Japanese that you'll find in anime compared to like other genres.
Oh yeah,
Not
definitely.
only that, like if you understand Japanese culture, then slice of life anime is not boring at all. If you understand like, oh, these kids are struggling or like have a lot of stress from like studying for tests or like why Valentine's Day is such a big deal, you know. If you understand like little cultural things like that, then like like slice of life anime is like pretty interesting.
And would you say that the reason why it's good for beginners is because you can follow along with what's going on even if you don't understand that much, or because it's easier to understand, or what about it particularly?
Just the Japanese that's used is like easy to hear, like easy to pick up on, I guess. I don't know, like to get my
Okay.
listening good, I'd loop like 6 episodes, the same 6 episodes at a time for like a couple weeks, and then do the next 6 episodes and loop those.
So was that like passive listening, or like were you like actually
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
them over and over, the same episodes?
Yeah, so I'd watch the series once and then just passively immerse like the whole series again like for a couple weeks while starting to watch another series for active immersion.
Cool. And were you using subtitles at all?
No, no. If I couldn't pick up something, then I'd turn on the Japanese subtitles just to see it, but other than that, then no.
Okay, so was that where most of your sentences came from the anime?
A lot of it came from books, I think.
Okay, so you also did a good amount of reading.
Yeah, books or like online. Yeah, anime. I think I have like 600 sentences from anime that I made
Cool,
from
cool.
Sons of SRS.
So what was your immersion diet like overall? How hours wise and content wise, like per day or per week?
Hours wise, like I'd have more than even though I have a full-time job, like, it's in Japan, so I hear Japanese a lot more than somebody who has a full-time job in America. I'd say good, yeah, my whole waking hours, basically.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So
around 15, at least 15, 14.
okay, that's awesome. And how many of those would you say you could count as active immersion? Like you were really giving your full attention to trying to understand what you were listening to.
Yeah, active immersion, I'd like 30 to 45 actually. 30, 45 minutes a day. On the weekends I could do a couple hours maybe,
Oh, okay.
but during the week only 30, 45 minutes. Yeah, it wasn't that much. Most of it was passive.
Oh, pretty good. And how many cards were you making a day per day on average?
It just depended how I felt. Like maybe five, maybe sometimes like 30. Just depends like on my mood for the day.
Okay, if you had to average it out, how many do you think it would be? If you took like your total number of cards divided by how many days?
Probably about 10, maybe 10. I don't know.
Cool, cool. So you had a pretty solid age out experience, sounds like.
Yeah, I stopped. I haven't added any cards recently.
Oh yeah. So,
I
well,
just
I want to get to what your experience is like now, but tell me about how what your experience was of how you experienced your own improvement over the course of these. I guess it would be 10 months about.
oh
Like, how quick was your
yeah,
improvement? What did you have any plateaus? Were there ups and downs?
definitely like you feel like you're not improving at all for like a while, and then one day, just slowly like some things like I had gone back to the States in around August, so I guess I had like a couple weeks break from AJAT, and then when I came back, my how do I describe it? I think I didn't notice until maybe about October. What was that? How many months was that? That was only 6 months. Around, no, 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 like 9 months. 9 months, 8 months. 8 months of AJATing. I had to write. I applied to be like a proofreader for a manga company,
Oh yeah.
and then I had to write a business email to them. Yeah, so I actually wrote out the email and then I sent it to my friend to correct. And I think she corrected it and then she sent it back to me with only the introduction and like closing sentences, but she said my whole like everything else was fine.
Awesome.
So that's when I first started noticing like, oh man, all right, I'm doing something right.
Cool.
And then there's other things like, just the workplace. They have me doing a lot of stuff because I can understand what they're talking about and communicate with everybody. Oh, just like basic life stuff that I guess the average person who doesn't know Japanese can't do, like, like going online to sign up for like the gas to come to be turned on and then having them come, like communicating with them and like understand their explanation and stuff. Like that's like things like that really showed like how much I improved with Japanese compared to like ordering at McDonald's.
Yeah, yeah. So like after around 9 months, it sounds like you were pretty functional in Japanese. Like you could understand enough to do most things you wanted to do
Yeah,
and make yourself understood pretty well. Like
yeah,
what was
yeah.
your experience outputting over that time? Because you probably had to, force yourself to speak a lot in the beginning because you were in Japan, had to talk to people.
Yeah, that's what sucked. Yeah, I do my best to not output. If I could avoid it, then I would. If not, I'd say like one or two words and have them fill in the rest because I didn't want to say anything incorrect.
Okay. So that was sounds like you were able to do all right with the output.
Yeah, the first time I really had to output is when the police stopped me
Oh
here.
yeah, what happened?
Oh gosh, they just stop foreigners randomly to check you for your ID, I guess to make sure you're
Oh
not
yeah,
like,
I've heard that happens.
yeah, and it's super annoying. But like they'd stop me. It was funny. I was putting money onto my IC card, and they like ran and cornered me. Like two huge police officers too. They weren't like your average Japanese person. They're like, I don't know, almost 6 feet tall, whatever. Yeah, they cornered me, ran past all these other foreigners just to stop me. Or like, hey, show us your ID. And then, in Japanese, I was like, whoa, did I do something? They're like, oh man, this guy knows Japanese. Oh man. Oh, so you've been here for a while, haven't you? And like trying to make some talk conversation. But yeah, I had to defend myself from that. Well, not defend myself, like question them for questioning me. That's like my first experience outputting.
Cool, and that went pretty well.
Uh, yeah. As well as like, I mean, well as in like Japanese speaking, like situation wasn't well.
Well, yeah, obviously, but but yeah, I guess that was kind of a funny question in that in a way, but so cool. So overall, you'd say it was pretty smooth. Like, were there any sort of issues you feel like you ran into, or was it mostly kind of straightforward in terms of you keep immersing, keep making cards, and just understand more and more?
Yeah, yeah, it's, definitely output comes naturally. Like I didn't believe that at first until like I just started noticing myself like responding without even thinking or saying things or knowing what to say.
And how far into the process, like how many months in, would you say it started happening to you?
I'd say just last month, so around yeah, yeah, around 9 months. That's like
Pretty
going
cool.
hardcore.
Yeah, yeah, it's not bad at all. And so I talking to people who have actually gotten pretty far with immersion based learning, it
Yeah,
seems like a lot of people, including myself, have certain moments where it really kind of clicks, and
yeah,
it no longer it goes from following the instructions of people on the internet to having enough direct experience where you know how this works and you know how to get better and you
yeah,
understand how language acquisition works just from your own direct experience, and you don't have to, it doesn't require faith or trust or anything. It doesn't really feel like you need someone to tell you what to do
exactly.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd actually signed up to take the JLPT because I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pass this and show that like, you can do this without actually studying. But I ended up
What
skipping it.
N1?
I was
Oh,
gonna do N2.
yeah, well, I mean, that's pretty fair. Like if you could pass N1 after just like 10 months of age adding, that would be
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
Yeah, because I was looking at the N3 practice stuff. I was like, oh, this is like, really basic. And I was like, oh, I'll just do N2, then I could put that on my resume too, whatever. And no, I ended up skipping it. I got too full of myself. And that whole week before I was supposed to take the JLPT, I didn't immerse or anything. I was like, oh, I started binging on English, and then now I'm suffering for it this week. Like everything's like feels off about my Japanese, and now I'm trying to like recover from that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that doesn't go away in my experience. That as soon as you take time away from Japanese, you feel it
Yeah,
really quickly. I mean, it gets less intense the better you get and the more time you've known Japanese for. But yeah, that can really get you.
yeah.
So, what are your kind of plans for the future in regards with Japanese? Like, how far do you see yourself taking this?
For now, I just want to get comfortable with business level. I'm still having like some struggles with like turning my brain automatically to using like, Keigo and like when to use casual Japanese and stuff. And there's like some bad habits I need to break when I
Oh
output.
yeah,
Yeah.
like what kind of stuff?
Like just 'cause like a lot of the Japanese friends I had, like in America, they respond with okay a lot. So I accidentally like use that with like my superiors, be like, oh okay. And I'm
I
like,
see.
oh man, no, I can't say that.
That's pretty funny. Well, at least it's bad habits in terms of something that Japanese people actually say. Just
Yeah,
it's not polite enough versus something that Japanese people don't say ever.
yeah, yeah.
But cool. And so, is your kind of plan just to kind of keep doing what you're doing? Because it sounds like you still have a lot to gain just from
Yeah,
continuing to immerse and.
yeah, definitely. I want to definitely get to native level.
Oh, okay. So you're pretty ambitious.
Yeah, I want to get there. One thing that bothers me a lot about like Japanese people and foreigners learning Japanese is like you get a free pass a lot
Oh
for
yeah,
not knowing
definitely.
Japanese. And if I'm like unsure and I ask my girlfriend like, "Oh, okay, like, is this okay to say?" Or like, "Is this how a Japanese person would say it?" And she'd be like, "Oh, we can understand it. It's fine. We know you're not Japanese." And I'm like, "No, I want to sound like a Japanese person. Please correct it to make it sound natural."
Yeah, yeah. It's like they can't understand your goals, or they
Yeah,
can't even understand why you would want to be good at Japanese, really, and that can definitely get frustrating. You kind of have to, if you want to really have a native friend that will truly correct you in the way you want to, you almost have to train them over time.
yeah,
Like actually over and over and over again,
exactly.
ram it into their head, almost like test them. Like I remember I used to occasionally with my friends, I would ask if something was right or not that I knew was wrong,
Yeah.
make sure that they would tell me it was wrong. and I do that a few times until they knew that they couldn't bullshit me.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
that's something you can do.
I don't know what it is. They just have like no expectations of like foreigners to know Japanese.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean that is part of the cool part, right, of being good at Japanese is you're kind of special in a way, and doesn't
Yeah,
it always feels good a little bit on some level to be special in that sort of way.
yeah. I try to keep it secret. Like at this new job I started, I try to keep it secret for as long as I could, just so like I could hear them like if they like say anything bad about me or anything, and I could hear it and be like, oh, okay, that's how you really feel.
Did that happen?
No, I mean they say like bad things about other people, but I haven't heard anything about me.
That's good. So what about like understanding in particular? Like, what would you say the limits of your ability to understand are? Like in terms of the news, or because I can even still find things I can't understand, right? If I
Yeah,
watch like a '80s Yakuza movie where they're
yeah.
speaking Hiroshima Ben and mumbling, and the audio quality is kind of bad, I can hardly understand anything.
The news is like it's getting better. I've been looping the news for the past month, trying to understand that more. I'd say like I'm still in that, understand 80%, but then that 20% like is like most important stuff that I can't pick up. But there's like some specific words, like something at my workplace that they'll talk about that I don't know what they're talking about, so I can't pick up what they're saying.
Like they're talking about X, and you know exactly what they're saying about X, but you don't know what X is, so you don't
Yeah,
really know what's going
yeah,
on.
exactly. Like it's like when you're saying that you try to explain meditation to your Japanese friends in Japanese, but you never really like, read about it in Japanese, so you can't explain it.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like
don't know how Japanese people express
yeah,
those ideas.
yeah. So just like anything, even in English, like, if you watch like I don't know, the House of Congress or Senate, you can't understand what they're talking about because you don't know anything
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that
Everything
subject.
has its own domain. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you have to. There is a certain level of base ability, but definitely at a certain extent, you have to learn how to understand the news, and that's a
Yeah.
isolated skill from all the other domains of
Yeah.
Japanese.
It's getting better now though. Like Japanese, I mean the news isn't like, as tough as people say it is. If you know the words, then you can understand the news.
Cool, cool. So, like, when you talk to your girlfriend, and I'm assuming you guys talk in Japanese.
No, no, in
Oh,
English.
really?
Yeah, keep it in
Is she pretty good
English.
at English?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much fluent. I'm not
Oh,
fluent as in
cool.
like, and she still has like her mistakes.
Well,
But
if you have like lunch with your coworkers and just talk about random everyday stuff, can you under how much of that can you understand?
I don't, we don't talk when we eat lunch. It's weird. Everyone stays silent. They like, they do that whole thing where like they hurry and finish eating so they can get back to work.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so
What
that's,
about
I don't
if you
know.
just watched like those slice of life animes and stuff?
Oh yeah, I
Like,
can
how are
understand.
those?
I can understand all of that. Almost all of that. Yeah, no, I can understand pretty much. I'd say like 90%, 95%. There's like a few words here and there that maybe I don't know.
Cool. Well, that wasn't that pretty much like 98, 99%. When you really think about it,
Yeah,
right? Like how many words are being said? How
yeah,
many of them do you
yeah,
understand? I mean,
exactly.
people say 100 words in a minute, right? So
Yeah,
if there's like multiple minutes go by without you not understanding something, then that's pretty much 90. That's not over 99%.
yeah, yeah.
So that's pretty cool. If there's anything that you understand 100%, like a lot of people, the idea that they could watch like Toradora and understand 100%, that's or like Dragon Ball Z or something that's kind of
Yeah,
basic. That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Surprisingly, like at first I thought Dragon Ball Z, like stuff like Dragon Ball Z is like easy to understand, but actually, I don't know. I'd recommend like mining from like Dragon Ball Z and stuff after Slice of Life anime.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say Dragon Ball Z
Yeah,
is a good resource to learn from, especially because there's so much whining and punching and not that much
yeah,
language. But
yeah,
the language itself isn't that hard, I don't think. But
yeah.
it's kind of like it's not as self-explanatory as Slice of Life, where you can infer what they're saying if you don't understand. Sometimes if they're talking about his like special psychic power,
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like you if you don't understand it, you might just be left in the dust. But
Yeah, actually, I did use Dragon Ball Z recently to start learning like Keigo and stuff. Because one of the characters only uses Keigo with
really,
instruction. Yeah, in Dragon Ball Super, there's a character
oh,
who
God, I
voice.
haven't seen it. I would
Uh,
be skeptical if that's real Kago or not, or if they're just
yeah,
like randomly adding like
yeah.
polite sounding stuff.
Well,
But
he talks polite the whole time, and that gave me like a foundation. Because like I used some word that I learned actually from Dragon Ball Super to one of my friends. They're like, "Hey, where'd you learn that?" What? I'm like, "Oh, Dragon Ball Z."
oh, cool, pretty good, pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, sounds like, I mean, things went so smooth for you, there's almost not a lot to talk about in a way. Well, I mean, up until you got here, 10 months ago. Sounds like,
Yeah,
had some false starts before that, but
yeah. There's actually like, people who like read AJAT and stuff. Like, I think that's something important to know that like, ah, I don't want to say anything bad about anybody. But like Kat's like even he used AJAP, but it didn't take him from zero to fluent, as we all know. Like he studied Japanese before that. He had a good foundation before he started AJAP. I think that's where like a lot of people get skeptical or have
yeah,
a
I
hard
think
time.
Katsumoto definitely kind of pumped up his story a little bit in
Yeah,
order to attract attention.
yeah,
And I
definitely.
mean, it did attract attention, but at the same time, it kind of hurts his credibility.
Yeah,
So, because and there's the reality of language learning is that it takes an insane amount of time and effort,
yeah,
and it's hard to get people on board when you're totally transparent about that.
yeah. I think that's what messed me up too. Is like, oh yeah, just learn from stuff you like, or like, yeah, just have fun the whole time. And I took that too literally of having fun. I didn't take like actually like studying or anything seriously. I just thought, okay, I'll just listen to this or like watch this, and then I should learn it, right? Right? That's what he said, right? But
Yeah, I do think that's one of kind of AJAT's biggest flaws is that for most people, sitting and watching TV shows where they don't understand anything isn't going to be that fun.
yeah,
Even if they would find the TV show fun when they did understand. And there is a certain mindset you can get into of just enjoying the almost like mystery and like exoticness of this foreign language, but that can only get you so far, you know.
yeah, definitely.
So, are there any other kind of things that you would, tell your past self or, advice you would give to newcomers?
I definitely like just take it slow, take it easy. Don't be in a rush. Everything's gonna come naturally, or everything's gonna fall in place, I should say. Yeah, I'm only 10 months in. I still have a long way to go. Yeah, it can be done. Definitely, like I said, like don't overlook slice of life anime. Start with something easy as immersion first to build that foundation. I wish I would have done that at first. Instead, I used to watch like just a lot of dramas and stuff where I can understand anything. Yeah, take your time with kanji if you need to. That's like the first thing that'll burn somebody out is kanji.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, don't be scared to like hop into books. You'll be surprised like how much you can read. Oh, I was gonna say there's one author. His name is Honda Ken. His stuff's pretty easy to read.
Like
Like
fiction?
it's just like some self-help books,
Oh, cool.
advice on life.
What was your first experience reading, by the way?
It actually so I started with manga course first, and then I jumped into reading those self-help books.
And how much could you understand when you first jumped in?
Surprisingly, like I'd say as far as like understanding was my understanding was low at first. I had to read the book a couple times. It's like one of those weird things where like you know all the words, but you can't understand the meaning of the sentence.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I think that's one thing that I've kind of been talking a lot about recently and wanting people to understand is that you learn how to read by reading. You don't,
Yeah, exactly.
first learn how to read, then start reading because
Yeah,
the only way you can learn how to read is through reading.
exactly.
And yeah, sounds like, yeah, it's like you're the perfect example. It's like if you just follow the instructions, it could be so easy.
Yeah,
It's like,
I think, and some of it, I mean, like again, not to say like anything bad about anybody, but I mean, there's a lot of people who are just fans of people who are good at Japanese, and then they feel inspired like for a short amount of time, but they don't really want to learn Japanese. And there's some like just do it. I remember seeing on Twitter, there's some people who are like, oh, I don't know if I should do this because Matt didn't say I should do it, or like Cats didn't say I should do this, so I just didn't do it. Like that stuff kind of annoys me. Like just go for it, just do it.
what are you talking about? I'm a god. Don't you have to listen to everything I say exactly, otherwise you're gonna go to age out hell.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. I actually, I don't know. I trolled a couple people on Twitter because of saying stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely think people should go and do their own thing. I mean, I think to a certain extent, if you are deviating from the canon of AJAT, then you probably should like not be telling the world about that at
Yeah,
first until you actually have results, right? Like,
yeah,
because it kind of is confusing for other people, and it starts to like, first of all, you're always taking a risk if you're trying something that hasn't been proven
yeah.
to have worked. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it because if you never try anything new, then we'll never, make any there'll never be any new discoveries.
Exactly.
But of course people are going to be, probably warn you against that and be skeptical of that because it could fail. especially if you have no experience with language learning. Idea you have is likely to to have some kind of flaw in it. But definitely go and try it, especially if it interests you and you think it's going to work. But tell the world after it works.
Yeah, yeah, not
Maybe.
like
But or don't listen to me. I can't tell you what to do. Hey, it's your free world. You can say whatever you want on Twitter though. Uh,
yeah, I'm interested to see how MIA goes.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I don't want to make this too much about me or MIA or anything, but it's definitely hard balancing. Embracing innovation and experimentation and trying to make sure that as many people as possible reach success because it's like in order to take some amount of responsibility for people's results, then I kind of have to tell them if I think that something's not going to work, be like, no, it's not going to work, or I think this way's better. I almost feel like I have a responsibility to do that, but that can also come across as being dogmatic or being like a dictator or whatever. So, but of course, you should always take my advice with a grain of salt, and I'd say especially try to understand why I say certain things rather
Yeah,
than just the take it on face value because there's
yeah,
normally some kind of logic or reason behind it.
yeah.
Anything that I say.
Because even for me, like, I took most of your advice. There's some things, I didn't agree with, like grinding through Anki and stuff. Like, I think you had said something about like, yeah,
I never recommended someone to do that though. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
yeah. I was like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I can do everything else he does, but
No, I would never put that hell on
yeah.
someone else.
Even now, like, I try to keep it under like 20 minutes a day on Anki, like, or like doing my reviews. I just go there and like really, really quick, just so I can get into like real Japanese stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely lean on the side of less rather than more Anki, for
Yeah.
sure. More and more, I feel that way.
Yeah, I want to throw this out there too. Like everything I know in Japanese, I don't have in Anki. Like, I
I
don't know,
mean,
like
most
base.
things.
Yeah, yeah, most things. Because I only have, I mean, let me check. I only have like almost 3,700 cards for sentences, and then the rest is just like, I don't know, I'll look up a word real quick when I'm reading a book or something. Just the only stuff that
Yeah,
I
I think
really
that
like, I
yeah
can't,
that
that doesn't come up a lot in my immersion. I keep in Anki.
yeah I think that's really important attitude to have of realizing that Anki is not all of your learning. In fact, like you said, it should only be a minority of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Immersion is where all the real action happens.
Yeah, I had made the mistake. I actually had an 8,000 bilingual deck at one time. That was horrible. I was like, oh, if I hit 10,000, I'll be fluent. It was horrible.
Wait, when was that?
This was actually right when I came back from Osaka. I was just doing copy and paste every day.
Oh, just
I
like
just,
single vocabulary cards, just like
yeah, like just, I don't know. I was like, oh, if it says 10,000, then I'm fluent. Like, 'cause I had like this weird obsession with Anki for a little while.
yeah. I mean, I totally understand why people fall into that trap because it's so counterintuitive that you would learn just by watching TV shows and reading manga. It
Yeah,
feels like, oh, I need to. That's not what learning feels like to me. To me, learning is like memorizing stuff and doing hard work and stuff. That's something that Kat's definitely said a lot that I definitely agree with.
yeah, definitely. Just like driving, like you can like read a lot about how to drive, stuff like that, but you don't actually learn how to drive by not driving. You need to drive to learn how to drive, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But reading a driver's manual first will probably make your process of learning how to drive a little smoother,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's kind of like with the basic grammar. It's like you're not going to know Japanese from reading grammar, but it might help you out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely like I think only Patrick and then Brit versus Japan, like as far as I know, like did Vanilla Ajat didn't study grammar directly. As far as I know. I think definitely like, because even Katz, he said like, oh, I didn't study grammar, but he went through all about particles, so he had like some foundation of like the usage of parts of the language. Definitely, I recommend for like most people just learn grammar. I
Yeah, I
think you
mean, it's
should study
definitely not
grammar.
necessary. Yeah, it's like Patrick did. It's definitely possible. Or we're
Yeah,
like, yeah, British Japan. But it's not such a binary thing of like, oh, you're doing AJAT and you're learning through immersion, or you're a traditional learner and you try to study grammar. It's like you can study grammar and have that be a tool to help make your immersion more comprehensible to you,
yeah,
or at
exactly.
least help you like give you a flashlight to
Yeah,
help you figure out your way in the dark at the very beginning.
yeah, because there's like, yeah, I forgot. There's like some like grammar and like advanced section to take him where it doesn't come up a lot, but when it does, like if you don't know that grammar, then you won't understand the sentence. Like it's just good to have that foundation. I think that totally changed like AJATting for me was doing that first, taking your new timeline and like how to do AJAT. Definitely.
Cool, cool. So yeah, so to wrap up, is there any specific pieces of Japanese media that you'd recommend? You talked about those self-help books, which I think is actually a really
Oh
interesting
yeah,
recommendation for people trying to break into, add a manga into all text reading,
yeah.
because I haven't actually read that much self-help stuff in Japanese, but it does seem
Mm.
to kind of have a limited vocabulary. Like if you're trying to read even like just a light novel, it's trying to be a work of art in a way, right? And so it goes out of
Oh
its
gosh,
its
yeah,
way to use a lot of fancy language, and that means that
yeah,
you're going to be, just overtaken with words you've never seen before. But the self help, a lot of
yeah.
times, it's just trying to get a basic point across, and then having fancy language would just get in the way of that. So it's
Hmm.
actually sometimes just really plain matter of fact, like, and
Yeah,
a lot of times it's just using like very everyday language, like the type of stuff that is spoken. So now that I think about it, I mean, I know some people just hate self help books. So if you're one of those people, probably like don't force yourself or anything. But
yeah.
that's definitely, now that I think about it, that's like really good advice.
It's not. I don't know. Like I never read any self-help books in English. Like these are
Yeah,
just
they're a
like
little
life
different.
advice
They're
books,
a
you
lot
know.
of them
Like
are more probably more palatable to the average person than some of the English ones, I would guess.
yeah, definitely. And some of it's just like common sense to us, like just our thinking, like in the Western world versus Japanese. You know, like I think the one I was reading was like, marry somebody you love. Don't get married just to get married. Which is like common sense to us, but like for Japanese people, like they have that pressure to get married by a certain age, so they're just kind of like, oh, like I just need to marry somebody, and have kids because I need to because I'm Japanese. So like stuff like that's like eye opening, I guess, for some people here in Japan. Whereas like for us, we're like, it's like, yeah, of course. Why would I marry somebody I don't love?
Yeah, that's
Unless it's
super
for money.
interesting, actually. Cool. So, any other? Well, it could be specific books or authors or any recommendations.
Yeah, for anime and stuff, like I don't know if it's on Netflix over there, but there's one called Just Because, which is a pretty mellow self slice of life anime. Definitely that's something like if you want to do sleep immersion, you can sleep and listen to that. There's not too much screaming in that.
Cool.
Dramas, if you like dramas, there's like Fugitive Boys, 1 Million Yen Women was pretty good. My Dangerous Wife was pretty good. Books, like I said, by Honda Ken, anything by him is written pretty easily. The other one that Kat's recommended, Why Don't I Have Time?
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I'll put all
Yeah,
those in the description.
that's pretty much it. Yeah, I could send you the
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
titles a
Please
little
do.
later.
Awesome. Well, it was great to have you on. Yeah, always great
Yeah, thanks for
to
talking
talk to people succeeding in this endeavor. And yeah, keep up the good work. Maybe I could interview again in a few years once you're yeah, a
to me.
few
Definitely.
even better than you are now. So yeah, great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
All right, you too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome.